Hey everybody, just wanted to go ahead and wish y'all all a very, very happy Wednesday. I hope y'all have had a wonderful and blessed day. It's been a wonderful day around here. Got a lot of stuff done. Got a little shower that was able to come and it just really kind of helped things out. I wanted us to think for a minute, and the verse we were going to look at would be 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 12. But most people know this verse, and it says, let no one despise thy youth. But then it goes in further from that and says, let no man despise thy youth, but thou be an example to the believers in word, in conversation, in charity, in spirit, in faith, and in purity. I want us to stop for a minute and understand a couple things. Number one, this was wrote to a young man. But it goes into how you act and the things that each of us are supposed to do when it comes to being a Christian. And some of these things are, well, just to be completely honest, are things that are not really looked at much today. And while this is talking to somebody who is younger, I know a lot of people watching this are probably laughing, saying, well, I don't really qualify for this. Yeah, but you kind of do, just like I do and everybody else does. Because he's saying, essentially, that your example is what gets people's attention. And the way that you get an example is... or it says, let no man despise thy youth, but be an example to the believers in word and in spirit. I want us to stop for a second here when we're discussing this. But each and every one of us have a responsibility to be an example. Being an example is something that actually is not very easy. Actually, it's really hard. You see, in all of our lives, whether we realize it or not, the things that we do always tend to come back. They always tend to make a full circle. If you do somebody right, you'll be treated right. If you do somebody wrong, it always seems to come back. But he says to be an example in word. In other words, the things that you say. You see, I've always heard it said you only have one chance to make a first impression. It's very true, and that first impression of you will always stick in somebody's mind. That is their definition of you. But he says in conversation, and that's going in more depth in word and in conversation, the things that we are saying, the things that we are doing, and the way that we are studying, knowing God's word, and the way we handle ourselves is what is really making a representation of what we are. Then he goes in, he said, in charity or in love. I think that's something that's forgotten many times when it comes to people with the churches. We have a real bad tendency to say, well, I'm right, I know I'm right, I can go right here and I can point this out. And there's no love in anything that we're saying. And anytime you're trying to have a conversation when it comes to bringing somebody to Christ, and it becomes a debate and who's right and who's wrong, you've lost. You may make your point, you may be right, but they've shut you off. If you don't have love in your heart and really truly wanting to bring someone to Christ, then everything else you do doesn't matter. They're not going to listen to you. But then he goes in spirit and in faith. Interestingly enough, faith is something that we talk about, but it's something that I think a lot of times we say we have faith, but the question is, do we really? And that's a question that I think we all need to really be able to sit down and evaluate and ask ourselves when it comes to the faith that we have. You see, when it comes to faith, Jesus said faith the size of a mustard seed can move mountains. But I think a lot of times we start using our own brains and start limiting the things that we say that we can do. Even when it comes to Christ himself, we start backtracking ourselves and we stop forgetting who it is that we serve, the almighty, all-powerful God. But the last thing that was mentioned there was impurity. Now I want to stop here for just a second to bring this one up for one reason. You look around today and that's something that's not really looked at as being important anymore. And kind of breaks my heart, if you want to know the truth, because just about every, I guess, young person is exposed to this idea that keeping yourself pure doesn't really matter. That's sad. But these are just some thoughts that I wanted us to think about as we go out, just like was told to Timothy, for us to be an example. Question is, what kind of example are we going to be for the rest of the week? Can't wait to see each and every one of y'all Sunday. Have an absolutely blessed day.